Hello, everyone. Welcome to another podcast. My name is Ben Lister. Welcome to episode 60. This is episode 16, and in this series, I chat to the legends of and icons of radio about their life in radio and the stations they have been on and their stories. So let's meet today's guest. And on this podcast, all around, and he's a podcaster, and all around good guy, I think. And his brother is Mr. Ash Gould. So please give it up. It's the one and only Mr. Johnny Gould. Hello, Johnny. Welcome along.
Ben, it's lovely to be with you, and thank you very much for that exuberant introduction. I'll see if I can live up to it.
Yeah, how are you today?
I'm very good, thanks. Very well. It's a school day for the kids. I've just kissed them goodbye and sent them off to school. So let the day begin.
Excellent. So you're at 6 questions about your career in radio, if that's okay. And we ain't got you for
With
long.
pleasure,
so
mate.
Keep them relevant, short, precise, to the point, you know. So are you ready to rumble in the jungle?
I'm ready to rumble in your jungle, Ben. Absolutely. Go ahead. Test me.
Let's go for it. Where did you start your broadcast career?
I started in Birmingham, my hometown. And Ben, when I was a youngster, it was a place of rich local media. There were 2 substantial regional independent radio stations in the West Midlands, and there was 1 BBC station. I was privileged to have an association with all 3 of them. I started with work experience at BRMB. I was then given a massive break at BBC Radio WM, who also trained me up as a sports journalist. And I did the breakfast show. That was my first job. I did the breakfast show sport for WM, which was a thrilling start to my career. I think one of the attractions for them was that I was 19, enthusiastic, probably not very expensive, and had a similar voice to this one, even as an older man. And that gave me enough experience to apply for a sports reporter's job at Beacon Radio, and the timing couldn't have been better because I knew the area extremely well in a sporting way because I'd grown up in it. But Pat Foley, their legendary sports editor, had literally just accepted a role at Club Call, which was the organization that I was prepared to leave to join Beacon. I'm not saying we swapped places, but I took his job as sports editor and I was just 21. And at Beacon Radio, they had a news team of 11 people, which is just unheard of now. It was a brilliant local radio station, and it served West Midlands and Shropshire, which geographically is an absolutely vast area with millions of population. And my patch was Wolves, West Bromwich Albion, Villa, Walsall, Shrewsbury Town. So all 4 divisions, some great experiences, great players, great managers. And it's among the happiest times of my life. Sadly, Beacon Radio isn't with us anymore. It was swallowed up by the relaxation of local radio rules and is part of Free Radio, which is a conglomerate of wider West Midlands outputs, including the former BRMB and Mercia. And it's a great shame that local radio isn't served commercially in the way that it was in the 1980s.
Yeah, and also the man behind who used to own the Free Radio and BRMB was a man called David Lloyd.
Yeah, correct. He's doing great stuff with his new output, the Baby Boomers output, and all credit to him.
Which is brilliant, and also, brilliant as well. Question 2 now, and also there was Dale Winton as well.
Ah, bless him.
Yeah.
Amazing
Question two now. Who were your early inspirations in your radio career?
Well, I took it all very seriously and I looked up to a lot of people. There were some local broadcasters who were extremely talented. People like Gordon Astley, who was at Beacon Radio and Radio WM, a fine broadcaster. There was Chris Ashley, who was a brilliant DJ, who left Beacon Radio, came back. There was Stephen Rhodes, who had a deep Terry Wogan style Irish voice. He was a very good phone host. there was Phil Holden, who probably won't mind me saying he was an absolute lunatic on BRMB. He was the most eclectic broadcaster for a music radio station I've ever heard. I'm not sure he was in the industry for long, but he was superb. He was so funny. And there were massive gaps of silence where he was thinking about what he was going to say, usually inappropriate. So Phil Holden was a great inspiration in a way that I couldn't copy. I didn't want to be like him, but I just laughed at the idea that he could compose himself like that on air. And someone I looked up to, and this is a measure of, and I still look up to him today, and this is a measure of his longevity and his professionalism. I absolutely loved Steve Wright. And Steve Wright did approximately the same show on Radio 1 when I was a kid. It was a bit more zoo format. There were a few more impressions on there than there are now. He's an older man, so they're a little bit more, should we say, calmer than they were then. But Steve Wright is a radio genius. And the best thing about Steve is that he produces every segment live on air. Everyone knows around him, his team of Tim and Bobby, who I worked with at Radio 2, they know what to do, and he manages them so brilliantly. His choice of music is great. I can hear when he's fed up with the music that he was not allowed to play and that he's had to be forced to play. I can hear in some of the lyrics secret messages. And I'm so sad that he's leaving Radio 2, and it's their loss because he will get snapped up somewhere else.
I reckon he'll end up at GRH, Greatest Hits Radio, or Boom.
Wherever he ends up, I'm retuning.
Or Chris Evans might even get him at Virgin.
I would love to see him at our sister station, Virgin Radio, talking as a talk radio, talk TV presenter.
Yeah, he'll hopefully, if ever he did go at Virgin, he'd hopefully pop into your studio.
Oh, I do hope so. A photo with Steve Wright would be quite a thrill for me.
Because you've also got broadcasting legend royalty as well on your station, Howard Hughes.
Oh, Howard. I go back 30 years with Howard. I had the great privilege of handing over to him one Sunday night, and he made a quip at my expense before, which I can't quite remember. It was a joking little message. So I thought, well, I've got to get him back on air. So I said, right, ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the acceptable face of conspiracy theories. Here's Howard Hughes. Howard's a great broadcaster. He's got a magnificent voice, and I love the format of The Unexplained. And he's a very skilled broadcaster. And you know, when you have something as unwieldy as Unexplained, if there's one guy to be able to pull that off, it's Howard.
Yeah, I think James Whale the other Saturday did something like that. He copied Howard Hughes a little bit for his show, got a few guests on for The Unexplained.
James is another one who I am absolutely privileged to have worked with on and off for about 25 years. He's a really very nice man. And you don't get that on air. You get him saying things like, will you shut up? I don't want to hear that anymore. I'm going to cut you off. But of course, that's his act. And he did a TV version of the show, a little forerunner to how talk radio has become, called James Whale Breaks the News. And I was on about a dozen of those shows with him. And I always rushed to go to the show if I was asked, because A, it was presented by James, and B, it was produced by Chuck Thomas, who's a brilliant producer, one of the best at talk TV. And the reason why James is so brilliant is he gets all these lunatics, including me, on air with him, and he handles them. He just handles them. He gets people from the extremes of politics, people like Piers Corbyn, members of the Green Party. He lets them speak, and then he makes a fool of them. And he's so deft at it. He's so brilliant. And he's a classic English satirist. And I'm so glad that James Whale is producing so consistently now in older age, and also that he's not very well. And, you know, we wish him you know, a very, very healthy and speedy recovery, if that's possible. I love James Whale, magnificent broadcaster and great.
Did you ever work with the current Prime Minister? Because I know that he worked at Talk Radio for a while.
My brother did. Ash did. Ash did one show with him.
Yeah, because he covered for James Whale, and James Whale said he wasn't very good as a presenter.
Listen, the top of my Facebook page, which is facebook.com/Johnny Gould Show, has a picture of me and Boris Johnson, who was then Mayor of London, keeping goal at a children's playground. I met him a couple of times as mayor, and he's exactly the same now as Prime Minister.
Anyway, question 3 now, because I know we ain't got a lot of time, so let's rattle part 1 out, and then let's rattle part 2 out as quickly as we can. What is your favourite part about being a broadcaster?
I think to talk to an intelligent audience, that's the biggest gift. Because actually, that's one thing that a broadcaster is, he or she is a conductor. If you want to behave in a crazy way, you'll have crazy listeners. But if you want lucid, broad-minded arguments, if you conduct the debate on that basis, that's what you'll get back. And I am very moved sometimes by the loyalty of my dear listener, who remembers stuff that I might have done even 20 or 30 years ago. And they follow me around. That is actually really humbling. Some of them have found me on Facebook. They drop me notes, ask me how I am. It's just really nice. And they're always there to tune in whenever they can. So my favorite part is talking to my intelligent listener.
Brilliant. That's it for part 1 from Johnny. Join me in a bit for part 2, but for now, back to the studio.